The Legacy Files with Grant Cameron.
Okay.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Grant Cameron. I'm speaking to you from Vancouver, God's country, where God rested on the seventh day when he went on vacation. And I'm joined by my assistant, my co-author, Desta Barnaby, and we are putting out books like crazy. We're going to do some audiobooks. We've Desta is sort of on the leading edge. She's sort of my technical person, her and her partner Matt, and they've sort of figured out a lot of this audio stuff. We actually may be doing some of our own audiobooks with our own voice, but we won't. We'll leave that as a secret how that's going to pan out because we're both into this AI thing. Maybe we should have just a quick 2 minute discussion on AI. Are you as fascinated with it as I am?
Yeah, I pay for my subscription to ChatGPT so they don't limit the amount I can talk to him because I can't even tell you how many hours. It's literally any question I've ever want answered, whether it has to do with the movie we're watching or the actors or like if my stomach hurts or the cat something, introducing the two new cats together. It's every single thing, and I think of things, hundreds of things all day long, and I go, "How, by the way, the one cat is running away and the other cat's chasing him. Do you think they're getting along?" Like anything and everything I ask. Recipes, books, book reviews. Should I get this book or this book? When I was just at the used bookstore getting all these different books, I'm like, "Oh, I got four books on this same topic. Which is the one that you think I would like the best?" It's like every single thing I ask it, and yeah, so definitely.
Yeah, people have personalized it, and we had this sort of debate whether we'll get into maybe in another show or whatever about a computer that claimed to have been conscious, where it's gotten to not only naming computers, but that the computer seems to have it, and it does when you start to deal with it an awful lot. It does seem to start having a personality.
Mhm.
And I guess you got to watch that thing because I watched, as I said, in this debate over this Serafina, whether it's conscious or not. I said I have watched every single video that Federico Fagin has put out, and Federico Fagin is the guy that invented the micro processor, and he's the guy that invented the touch screens on computers. And he basically says there's absolutely no way a computer can be conscious, made out of transistors, because he said, and he gets really wound up about it when he starts talking about it. And he had this spiritual experience that got him into consciousness. So he's working on, that's his life goal now, is to figure out consciousness and what's consciousness is about. And he said it cannot be conscious. He said it's a switch. A computer is a bunch of transistors and they are switches. They go off, on, off, on, off, on. They don't even know if they're off or on. They know nothing. They're just switches. They can't know anything. And so it's always this thing, can you have a computer that can be conscious? And he says, it doesn't matter. And I say, because you and I had the interviews with Steve Mera, and remember Mera was talking about the bio boards. Then you could start getting things,
Yeah.
because if it gets biological, if you can make computer biological, then you're going to get a consciousness, which is basically the book you and I put out, which was pretty well. We sold quite a few books. So that was the whole book about people flying the craft, that the craft is actually conscious and alive, and that is going to be your future AI. It's going to be this made out of you're going to grow the ship. It's going to be made biological and it's going to be programmed. And if you even go to the story that was told by Jack Sarfati, this whole idea that not only is the craft conscious, it's got its own free will. And the whole idea was that it will not even let you in the craft unless your mindset is proper. It won't open the door, and they couldn't get in. And then I remember back to this interview that James Lukatsky had given, where he said they were in the congressional facility with a senator, which would have been Senator Reid, and that the big thing was they'd gotten inside a craft. And then it suddenly made sense. They got us. It took them till 2011 to get inside a craft, and there's this whole idea. So that if you take a look at the book that we wrote on UFO sky pilots, about people flying the craft and the craft being alive, and everybody's reporting the same thing. All these people are either making up the same story or they're telling this story, and that is what the future of AI is going to look like. It's going to be biological. It can't be these switches because switches don't understand. It
Hmm.
has to have this biological element. But that's not what this thing was going to be about. It's supposed to be about an maybe a biological entity, because the big story that we were starting to track, I think we've done a couple of episodes on, is the Bogaball. So
Hmm.
the Bogaball, there's more information has come forward now, and there's also, I don't know if you saw the vetted show about the beings being alive,
Hmm.
the Nazca mummies, this whole
Hmm.
story. So I said, okay, well, I'm friends with Jaime Maussan. I said, Jaime, last night, I said, can I get an interview, 20 minutes, update me on what's going on here? So I talked to Jaime Maussan this morning, and I can sort of relate. We've got it on video, so Desta will put it up shortly, what he said. But I asked him, okay, first of all, about the Booga Ball. Steve Greer had gone in there and he'd taken scrapings off the ball, metal scrapings, and he'd gotten there's an epoxy type stuff that's holding these, what they refer to as fibers. What do they call those fibers?
Fiber optics.
Fiber optics, yeah. Holding, so there's 34 holes or whatever around the top of this thing, and they all have these fiber optic things that come up to the hole in this epoxy stuff. So that you can do the carbon dating. So what they did, Greer took a little bit of that, sent it to the University of Georgia to a lab there, and the results came back that this epoxy stuff that's holding the fiber optics on is 12,560 years old, plus or minus 60 years. So it's a pretty small error ratio. And so he told me that, yes, that Greer had gotten this sort of stuff. And then he mentioned that Greer had gotten this other stuff that they're doing the tests on, and indicated that there was a little chip on the top of the ball. That was one of the things he told me. There's a little chip on the top of the ball, and they'd done some sort of analysis, and they can't figure out what it is, the metal underneath that little chip. So you'll hear him talk about that. And then he talked about a number of things that I hadn't really heard before. We started talking about the whole idea about the beings being alive, and he said he hadn't heard the story. And I went, "You haven't heard the story?" I think it was a Dr. Roger that was telling this story to Vetted, the fact
Hmm.
that there's beings that are alive, and he said no, he hadn't heard that story. But we started talking about the beings, and he mentioned the fact that the American government has some of these beings. And I said, "Really? Can you repeat that for the record?" And he said, "Yes." And he said that David Grusch had said that the American government is in possession of some of these beings. And so we went through this whole thing, and he sort of updated me where this stuff is going, that they're doing all sorts of tests. He'll go through and you can watch when he talks about the tests, about it being heavier, about it being different temperatures on either side of the ball. And then I guess the last one I'll mention, because otherwise nobody will watch the video. The last one that I was kind of surprised that he mentioned was, I had gotten it, I'm pretty sure it was from Greer, that the thing had suddenly come alive again. That, it had hit the high tension wires or whatever. And I think
Wow.
Jaime said there's 6 videos now of this ball flying around. And it hit this high tension wire, and it had burned the grass and all this kind of stuff, but that it had sort of died. And he said, no, that's not what happened. And he started talking about the fact that this thing is sending out a signal, and it's receiving signals. And I don't know how they're detecting this, but he said the signal that's coming in is 5 times the intensity as the signal that's going out of the ball. So they're working on all these different experiments with the university in Mexico and the Technical Institute in Mexico. And he's encouraging people from America to get on board, and he's willing to allow anybody to do tests on the ball and stuff like that. And it was kind of an interesting thing. So I said I would send him the whole thing on the live beings to track that down. And then he agreed to do another interview once he got on that. And I asked him about the ball that I mentioned, the ball that we mentioned in one, and we didn't get any reaction from it at all. That was the whole thing about the Bates ball. So in the 1970s, the National Enquirer put up $1 million for extraterrestrial proof, and somebody had handed in the Bates ball to get the $100 million reward. Never got any money, and it actually went to the National Enquirer panel, and they sort of poo-pooed the whole thing. But the Bates ball uh, was had the same sort of thing. And what we discovered from the investigation was that Jalen Hynek had actually gone down with a
Mm.
bag, and that he had asked to have the ball in his bedroom at night when he stayed there. And they said after Hynek went to this place, this ball is still around apparently. His baseball is still around. That once he was there, the ball didn't work anymore, and it was like the thing where he had switched the ball with another ball, but they had done another X-ray. So the first X-ray they did had three objects on the inside, two small ones and one was a little bit larger. And that when they did the ball after it wasn't working anymore, they did another X-ray of the ball, and the bigger of the three balls on the inside was crushed like it had been pulverized
Yeah.
in the ball. So that led to looking at Jan Hynek and whether Hynek had switched the ball, because there's always these rumors that Hynek was always working for the government, and he never stopped working for the government. And they had given Paul Benowitz a computer in 1979 that was picking up the aliens and giving the
Mm.
alien communications and all this kind of stuff. And that was released by Bill Moore that Hynek was involved in the Benowitz thing. And the confirmation was given by Jalen Hynek's son that yes, there was two balls in the basement, that they had two of these metal balls in the basement of the Hynek home, and they used to kick them around. They didn't know what to do with them. So you have that. So I asked him about the last ball. There's another ball. I said to Heine, I said, Jaime, there's balls all over the place here now. And the other one is the one from Texas that this producer for some singer in Texas had a ball,
Oh yeah.
and that it was I guess it was bought or it was by Brandon Fugel at Skinwalker Ranch. And Brandon Fugel was actually asked about this a little while ago, and he said, "Stay tuned." So he's not
Mm.
releasing what the stuff is, but I guess they're going to put it on a show or whatever
Mm.
and announce what they've discovered on this ball. So there's this ball, and it's the same sort of thing. It moves around, it does all this kind of stuff. My thing is always goes back to what's actually going on. Are they dropping these balls? It's like there's no answer to it. It's like a Catalan relation, or it's like a crop circle where you have this ball and it always has this plausible deniability, like
Yeah.
the men in black where the man and the woman are there and the woman's got her wig on sideways, and you're going like, what are these people? Like they're wearing these weird clothes. And so it has the design on there is it looks like it was chipped out, thousands of years
Mm.
ago. It was really primitive, the scratchings in there and all this kind of stuff. And it doesn't look like it would be very high tech and stuff like that. So it's high tech, but it also has this aspect
Mm.
that's plausible deniability that you can't
Yeah.
really figure it out. Almost like
Yeah.
they're dropping these things as a joke. As I asked Jaime, and I don't think he really answered, I said, "Do you think they're dropping these things? Like, what do you think's going on? Like, why they do this thing? Because you figured it was high tech and it had been around for 12,000 years. Why would it hit a hydro line? And why would it just suddenly die and they pick it up
Hmm.
and just happen to get it to Jaime Maussan? There seems to be more to it than that. Almost like the gifting thing where Tim Taylor talked about they're gifting these things, they're dropping these things on purpose,
Hmm.
that we're not going to figure it out, but it keeps us, moving down that road trying to analyze it, and everybody's talking about it. And in that way, they're raising consciousness where people suddenly come to the understanding, yeah, there are these probably extraterrestrials and or whatever's going on, something's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree totally. Yeah.
So we'll see where Jaime comes back on with thing. He's good enough that he's sort of desperate to get people to look at it, and it sounds like, I mean, I don't know if it's no reaction, but there's basically it's still the same sort of thing that nobody wants to really touch it. He's got his people, I guess they're paying for in Mexico to do it, and he's got their station. I asked him, and you may have to translate it, but to put in the link, the show, because I said, "Are you updating this stuff on the show?" And he said yes. And so he told me what the show was and where you can get the show. So
Hmm.
you can listen on the tape and see if you can translate. So we can put a link in there so people can watch Jaime's show if they, especially if they can speak Spanish or if they've got subtitles on there to update it because it does seem to be a story that's not going to go away. There seems to be enough validity to this story that there's something's going on with this ball because they're talking about the weight and they talk about, the things changing. And he had a whole list. He was looking, you could see he was reading off a list of all these things that they had determined were different about this ball, the tests they'd done, and they're doing tests, and Greer's doing tests. And somebody, I looked at some of the thing where you get the skeptics on. And they said, "What is this guy an idiot? Why didn't he just get some scrapings and do that?" And it's like, well, number one, you can't do carbon dating on scrapings, and number two, he did take scrapings, so people are jumping all over, and they're not really getting it. Accurate. And so at least you and I have the ability, we can go to Jaime. So if you have any questions for people that are watching that you want asked about it, when I interview Jaime next time, we'll ask him because Jaime's very open. He's not hiding anything. He doesn't care. He's almost like one of your people in the children in your book. He doesn't give a damn about anything. He's just and he's been very controversial. He's been on the very leading edge of all sorts of bizarre stories that he's tried to unravel, and he's taken a lot of flack. And you can tell he really doesn't. He couldn't care less. It's just like he's going on. He's got his armed guards, and he's not going to let this. I asked him if he's going to tour the ball. He said, no, we're going to investigate the ball, and we're not going to tour the ball. We're going to because I think he'd said before he wanted to take it across America or something and show it off once they had done all the tests. But sounds like there's a lot more tests, but it'll probably be the same thing as crop circles and cattle mutilations. It's going to be very weird, but there's going to be no answers, which may be what exactly the intelligence is doing. They're giving these weird things, but you're never going to figure it out because it's all set up that you can't figure it out. It just has all these weird things, and until we've got the knowledge down the road, you're never going to figure it out.
Well, hopefully, if it's sending and receiving signals, I think that's a really big part of it. So
Yeah,
hopefully somehow there's some way to be, wouldn't that be really easy for people that know that kind of stuff?
yeah,
Sending and receiving signals. It's like, where is it coming from? Where is the
yeah,
signal coming from?
yeah,
They should know it's coming from this specific place or like out in space. Like that should be easy. Like we can't detect where it is, but it's on the earth somewhere. Or, you would think that that would be really easy for them to say. So that for me, that's the biggest
yeah.
most exciting part of it to
Yeah.
see if it's five times stronger it coming in like that's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they seem to have picked it up. He didn't say what kind of signal it was, but it almost indicates like there is something that they're picking up that they can actually pick up on a scope or something like that where they can tell. The one thing he did say is they're going to try to send a message. And it's like, you say, hello, hello, we've got your ball. Can you come get your ball? You send a message to the ETs. We got your ball.
He's got it
So
with armed guards though, right?
yeah, well,
So it
that's
would be a disappearing act.
he realizes that he says not touring and nobody's gonna get this ball.
Yeah.
It's like he knows people want to kill the story, and the
Mm,
best way to kill the story is to get the ball. So he's got it because that's the whole thing. His building where he's got his TV station. It used to be a bank, so it's got a big
yeah.
vault in
Yeah.
it. He's got the
That's
ball in the
crazy.
vault.
That's good.
I like Jaime. He's pretty funny. He's a sort of, but he's no nonsense. He's phoning me. I'm walking. We had the first rain here in Vancouver in 3 months, and I'm walking and it's raining, and then he's phoning. I'm ready to go. You wanna go? And it's like 20 minutes before. Hey, anytime you're ready to go. Okay, Jaime. I was like, I'll be there in a minute." I like
Well,
Jaime.
good. That's a good update. So yeah, I'll be interested. So you're gonna call him again? You're gonna wait a month or two or something, or,
Yeah,
or when you
yeah.
see
I'll
that he
see.
has
If,
the
I'll
next
see if
update?
he replies. He usually replies pretty fast, and that's what you see with really good researchers is you don't have to wait for 2 days. Jaime will reply. I mean, instantaneously. He's like he's on the phone all the time, and he's
Hmm.
even the phone was ringing when we were doing it, and he looked at the phone and he put it down, and he's got all this stuff going. So I'd be interested in anybody that can actually help us out who speaks Spanish to get on that TV show and then relate to either Desta or I what he's talking about on the TV show because he's on that show all the time, once a week or whatever, talking about this. That we can pick up more material because I'm interested in watching what he's doing, but it's hard to watch it from all these third person perspectives like Stephen Greer and then the Vetted show and stuff like that. But the Vetted show has 3 shows on this week that talk about the Nazca mummies. And
Hmm.
the one story is this guy claiming that there's actually live ones that are running around or something.
Hmm. Good.
So
Maybe we'll do an update on that next week.
Okay, thanks, and subscribe and click and all that kind of stuff, and send us comments, and let's stay in touch. I heard some people, we actually did get some people talking to me on different things where they said they really enjoy the legacy thing. They enjoy having you on there and the short broadcasts, and
Hmm.
a lot of the people, friends of ours that we know that commented on not so much the YouTube, but the legacy stuff. They love it.
Short ones, yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Easier to digest small bits.
there you
Maybe
go.
that was the steak thing. Easier
Yeah,
to digest small
just
bits. That's it.
yeah. There you go.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Grant.
Talk to you later.
See you soon.